called The War and Soul, where Dubois tell you that they give you an artificial perception of the self in this system using an educational system. And Garvey, in response, tell you that you the most powerful spiritual being, and up you mighty people do what you will. They can't
Mm-hmm.
use they conjure to overcome you if you're aware of what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you know the conjure and you read the Marcus Garvey famous whirlwind speech, look for me in the whirlwind, look for me in
Mm-hmm.
the cyclone and the elements of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
When you know the conjure, you know what he's saying. But when you don't know the conjure, it's just a badass speech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
cold piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's another level when you know the conjure.
Mm.
So I was a independent, self-taught conjure man, studying all of the priests till I became a master of master, self-raised master,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I acknowledge all my elders that came before me that gave me the pieces to the puzzle,
Mm.
right? And I come to them in honor and distinction because I don't take sides with my mother line or my father line. They both better bump fucking straight,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because my mama taught me, honor thy mother and thy father that their days may be long on the earth,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I use that as a value tool for family. This is how we get to understand how to internalize the overall value of family.
Mm-hmm.
By honoring your parents, it gives you favor with your ancestors, and they help you to clean up generational curses that's in your
Mm-hmm.
DNA.
Mm-hmm. So, so we got okay. It's good you started with Garvey. Okay, you started with Garvey, and then specifically, like what is the link between going from like Noble Drew Ali, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and even in now, with somebody like Dr. York? Is there a connection between all of those individuals, or is it?
Okay, so this is what we know.
Mm-hmm.
We know that at one time Elijah Muhammad was a member of the Moorish Science Temple,
Mm-hmm.
and his name was Robert Poole Bey.
Okay.
We know that he then left there and joined up with the Ahmadiyya sect of Muslims and began to learn Islam before he encountered Master Muhammad
Mm-hmm.
in the 1929 year after Noble Drew Ali died when he
Mm-hmm.
separated.
Yeah.
We know this in his FBI file, he changed his name to Robert Gulam.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert Gulam was a name of the Ahmadiyya leader,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then he changed his name when he was the secretary in Chicago. He worked in the offices of Marcus Garvey. And at this time, he was learning from Fard Muhammad because
Mm-hmm.
this is like 1930. So while he's being a member of Garvey's team as a secretary, he's changed his name now, according to the FBI files, to Robert Black,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So now Elijah Muhammad has a direct link to Garvey and a
Mm-hmm.
direct link to Noble Drew Ali.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now fast forward. Yahweh ben Yahweh, Hulan
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell, Hulan
Mm-hmm.
X. Elijah Muhammad sent him to cover the doctrine of the Hebrew Israelite. Puddin, Father God Allah, Clarence, 13X.
Mm-hmm.
He told Elijah that he had to go get the young children that couldn't tolerate the strict discipline of the FOI in the Nation of Islam, and
Mm-hmm.
he had to organize the ones that's going to be smoking weed on the corner,
Mm-hmm.
hustling the block. They had to be organized as well as a tribe unto themselves because they behaved the same.
Yeah.
So he used the 120 as the teaching tool in order to give them their piece to the puzzle in order to talk across the land and tell us what's going on the land,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So now when we see the symbols, we know what's going on. So we see an artist like King Sun as a West Coast 5%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and then he had an affiliation with the Bloods. So
Mm-hmm.
now we're seeing connections. right?
Mm-hmm.
Who else was under Elijah Muhammad? Siraj Wahaj was a
Mm-hmm.
former member of the Nation of Islam,
Mm-hmm.
right? So all of the different fields of knowledge. Malachi Yorks would say he was never a member of the Nation of Islam because he attended Sheikh Dawood's temple
Mm-hmm.
or masjid,
Indeed.
right? But he also encountered and learned from fruits in exchange and study groups,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this
Mm-hmm.
was part of the come up.
Mm-hmm.
So he's getting to see what the Nation of Islam is like while he's also studying Islam under Sheikh Dawood,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he gets to see the difference. Now he in New York in the thick of everything that's going on,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he got the Hebrew Israelites around him. He got the Moors around him.
Mm-hmm.
He got the Nation of Islam around him. He got the Black Mafia around him. He got these young gangs all over the city, all around him, and they all absorbing the information.
Mm.
So they all come from different walks of life, and they all meet up in something called a hip hop generation.
Mm. Damn.
So you got 50-year-old, white-haired, wrinkle-faced, pale-skinned politicians bumping Tupac and Biggie to this day.
Mm-hmm.
The guys like what's my man from they got kicked off the news being an asshole.
Which one?
Anyway,
Oh.
um, he was a prominent newscaster, had his own show and shit. I think he was on MSNBC.
Shit, I don't know.
But he's a dirtbag. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
they begin to they be listening to Tupac and Biggie now.
Oh yeah.
You know, they are Snoop Dogg is in Hillary Clinton's playlist. You seeing the hip hop
Yeah.
generation is getting the influence,
Mm-hmm.
even though they fighting against it. They even influenced by it.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
unmistakable and undeniable. This music is the force and power of the warrior souls of the youth.
Indeed.
Right? So we bumping the 808 because it's the war drum.
And then, just like you talking about, as far as the infiltrators coming in, they come back, but in the '90s, and they flip it all into gangster rap when it was all positive.
Right. Matter of fact, they had a whole meeting
Mm-hmm.
in '91 to subvert conscious rap and to bring gangster rap to the forefront.
To the forefront. Yep. Professor Griff did a whole he nailed that with a that book he did, and in lectures, man. He went in on it. But yeah, like you said earlier, use it against you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They yeah. So I'm gonna go another route now. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, in information, I always used to hear the black woman is God, right? And, I'm like, cool. My mom, God, you know what I'm saying? My mate, my mom, black, she birthed me, you know what I'm saying? And so on and so on. I see all these great things, right? You know what I'm saying? Now, fast forward to the time I got introduced to the Mama Zagbe and the Sybil, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there reading this book, and I'm like, I had no clue what these sisters, how powerful and what they were doing, back then. So here's a question. You can, roll with it, how you feel. But could you paint a picture of our original culture as being matriarch,
Mm-hmm.
it going through a time frame and then the flip happening, okay? And we're losing and going to patriarch and now the rise of matriarchy. Could you kind of, walk us through that, please?
Okay, so the story is best told as the story of Oshun,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you want the backstory, that's the story you go look for,
Okay.
right? Under the patriarchs, when the men take power, they're supposed to take power in times of war, not
Mm-hmm.
in times of peace, right? So patriarchy got have its purpose until it's weaponized against the divine feminine, right? And in order to weaponize the patriarchal position, you have to refuse the right of the mother to get in her rightful position in the household. This is why they're trying to convince women to go out into the work world. Every woman don't want to work. Some women want to stay home and fine tune the home environment so they can create heaven on earth for their family, right? So the science of this is called feng shui, right? The women who are the matriarchs, they are often accused of having OCD, right? Because they always cleaning something. They always organizing something, primping something. That behavior in any other species is called nesting, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
they call it nesting when an expectant mother is about to have a baby and she cleaned the whole fucking house up at 9 months pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But if she can keep it up and continue to do it, now she got OCD.
Yeah, yeah.
But what they don't understand is that process, what they call nesting, is actually her tuning her chakras and her portal, her vajayjay, into the frequency of the love energy. She's bonding with her child in the nesting phase. She can continue to bond with the child after the child is born by continuing with the nesting behavior. And
Mm-hmm.
this is where we understand how to raise children,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
By observing the natural phenomenon, we understand that the human women normally form circles around the children as they teach them things until the boys are old enough to go out with the father into the bush and take his rites of passage to becoming a man,
Mm-hmm.
right? In the early years, the fathers, he playing with his kids like every other father, but for a period of time, he's supposed to be in the hands of the mother to get certain critical starter lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Because the pair binding that they made is for her to teach him the basics to reading and writing,
Mm-hmm.
the basics to bathing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when she passed him over to the father, that part the father don't have to take care of now. He can start teaching him the culture, start teaching him how to live off the fat of the land, how to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
How to be live off grid if need be.
Mm-hmm.
How to live in the system, how to manage money,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you know that your wife handle money better than you, if she's your wife and she really your wife and you really feel that way, she's supposed to handle the money,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you supposed to make sure that it continue to come in so she can continue to generate heaven at home. So every time
Mm-hmm.
you're not out in the getting substance from the world to return back to the nest, when you get to the nest, you got heaven on earth.
That's it.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the women are the only people on the planet that you're getting in this motherfucker through as a human.
Yeah.
You're not coming in without going through the portal of life, and it's only owned by females.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a fuck what the elemental P people say.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A woman
Yeah.
is born genetically female at birth,
Mm-hmm.
grows up, goes through puberty, learns the ways of the woman, and that's how she get to be a woman instead of
Mm-hmm.
a girl or
Yeah.
a young lady.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you're born with testicular fortitude and phallic elation, you are not a woman. You can't be a woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's just physiologically, genetically impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they chop you up and remove your mainstream pieces,
Mm-hmm.
your DNA still gonna say you're a man,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Which changes the whole understanding of what's taking place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
In order to attack the divine feminine, you have to remove the divine masculine because he will protect her to the end of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is what's going to call all of the tribesmen together to rally around the women when they start coming together saying, hey, they gave it back, clean it up.
Yeah. Our turn.
Yeah. Unapologetically assert our position from our culture.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. If we assert our position from our culture using our traditional ways, there's nothing they can do but honor our instructions. We're going to
Indeed.
see Larry and Angel Bay soon.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know the date.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this government is in the process of transition,
Mm-hmm.
right? DC is closed. The White House closed. The Senate closed. what they call the state house, whatever the
Mm-hmm.
fuck that motherfucker is.
Yeah.
That shit closed. The Federal Reserve is closed. IRS is closed. Y'all, the people just still participating in their shenanigans. That's why people not getting their income tax check. Ain't nobody
Mm-hmm.
hardly there.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Now, the good brother, Rod Hayes, he don't ask for nothing. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna go ahead and put his cash app here, so y'all, we all need support. We all need to do a thing. Well, I'm sorry. What is the cash app, brother?
$, capital S, lowercase IK, capital A, lowercase PE.
One more time, please, to make sure I got it right.
Capital SIK, capital APE.
All right, we'll put it on here. Okay, yeah. So please support the brother here. I'm gonna stick it right here, so we're gonna run it across here because I mean, you know, this brother could be doing something else, but instead he's taking the time to wake us up. You know what I mean? And even an individual like me that's been around some great master teachers. You know what I'm saying? Good brothers like this that are coming with it. You know what I'm saying? We gotta respect that. We gotta support these brothers, man. We gotta
Hey, look,
support them.
people don't know I walked away from a good job. I had everything I needed.
Mm-hmm.
I had everything I wanted. I ain't want nothing,
Mm-hmm.
right? But my mama, my old lady, and my son grandmama felt like we needed to do something to clean this shit up.
Mm.
So they volunteered me. I hate social media with a passion, but I love my people more than I hate social media.
That's the truth. That's so true, brother. You know what I'm saying? I tell folks all the time. That's why I never even post. I hardly ever post nothing. Everything I got to post is doing something to try to uplift us, man. You can have that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't even care nothing about. There we go. Let me put that back up here. That's it, right? SIKAPE, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, cool, cool.
they
Got you.
might be
So
able to
yeah,
find it wrote like that.
what do you say?
They might be able to find it wrote like that. But
Okay, all
only
right,
the S and the A is capital.
all right. Let me fix that then. Only the S and the A is capital. Let's see. Only the S and the A is capital. So that's a K. That's an I. Oh, I see what's happening. Never mind. I see what's happening. There we go. Only the K and I. Okay. We gotta get this right here so we can get the good brother. It's a K-A-P-E. Only the K and the I. There we go. Gotta take this time out to fix this, family. Gotta take this time to fix this because I want this. I want this. Only the K and the I. Okay, cool. We got it. Yeah, because I mean, like I said, we gotta support these good brothers like this, man. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I see sincerity. You know what I'm saying? Every time I put on a clip, I just see that you love your folks and you're trying to uplift folks and you ain't just you trying to help us all humanity. You know what I'm saying? And I love that as well. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's needed. Okay, so the Sybil, getting back to the Sybil. Okay, so historically speaking, you know what I mean? Like in reading the book, the Mama Zagbe book, and just reading about that, because I was reading things like they knew the power of these women, you know what I mean? And they used to do stuff like, you know, they used to make them keep their doors open, you know what I'm saying? So they could watch them all the time. They knew their power, so there was a full on extent to just suppress them. Like what type of time frame are we talking about as far as like is
You
this
ever
like
heard you heard the Salem witch hunts, right?
yes.
That's the most recent episode of the same repeat cycle
Mm-hmm.
of undermining those women that would wake up to other women. You never were right. The S
Oh, hold
and
on. Let me fix this mess, man.
the S and the A is the only capitals.
Oh, you said the S and the A. You said the S and the A. Let me fix this, man. The S and the A. Let's get this right. So we got a lowercase k, lowercase k. The S and the A, right? You said
Yep.
S and A. So that's right there. Let me see. S, capital S I K, capital S, lowercase I, lowercase k, A, P E. Correct?
Capital A, lowercase p, lowercase e.
Yeah. Got you. Let's take a look at that real quick before we move on, because like I said,
Got it.
yeah, perfect. All right, cool. Sorry about that, fam. We're going back to the civil now. I had to get that right to get, we got to get the support to the good brother. So, okay, Salem, witch hunt.
Right. So when you go back and you review the record, you'll see that there's one episode where all of the girls start doing a dance. They was all doing the same dance in different parts of the town, right? And they murdered them all because this is called hiving.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And this is what the practice that the whirling dervishes do when they
Mm-hmm.
spinning around,
Mm.
right? They are trying to stir up mitochondrial energy by becoming a centrifuge.
Mm-hmm.
The gravitational pull on the body releases certain enzymes in the blood that powers the DNA to try to discover what's taking place because it's giving you the sensation that you're in the centrifuge.
Mm. Mm.
Right? And the enzyme that it produces gives added charge to the mitochondria.
Mm-hmm.
But the men can only raise it so high, and then that's high as it'll go without the aid of a woman.
Mm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't stay. When the dervish get done doing or the Sufi,
Mm-hmm. Sufi. Mm-hmm.
all of the Sufi rites are the rites that the women of these civil priestesses are supposed to be practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Because they want to turn their mitochondrial up. We talking about going from a 3-foot aura to like a 60-foot aura.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And being able to instantaneously heal people just by the people stepping inside of the aura.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Right? So who touched my hem of the garment? And the Savior didn't see, but he turned around and said, somebody touched me. How do they
Mm-hmm.
know if you didn't see and they only touched the hem
Mm-hmm.
of the garment? How
Mm-hmm.
do you know they touched you?
Mm-hmm.
I felt it, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right? How did you
Mm-hmm.
feel it? It was within the confines of my energy grid.
Mm.
When the person stepped in the energy grid, they absorbed the energy that powers the mitochondria.
Mm-hmm.
And the mitochondria powers the DNA, and the DNA began to activate as a crystalline light body in order to heal the body, in order for all of these things to balance out in your system.
Mm-hmm. So, that's heavy, man. So, I mean, and these are the sciences that only a small groups of. Now, let me ask you this question. Different things like this, is this certain things that the sisterhoods, like your Mama Watsi and all these other sisterhoods, that they still have that type of information that they're still, holding on to? I mean,
Well, you still have long lines of yoni priestesses.
mm-hmm.
You got long lines of doulas.
Yeah.
You have long lines of midwives
Mm-hmm.
that has been family tradition passed down.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in the midwife and the doula is the midwife has access to Western medicine as well
Mm.
as the traditional
Tradition.
rites,
Yeah.
right? So they
Mm-hmm.
normally will have a nurse practitioner in Western science perform the functions as the midwife.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's a doctor and she can write prescriptions and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So another thing, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna kind of build on Star Wars, so to speak. Not really the movie, but yes, kind of the movie. Dealing with, we know there's a galactical council that oversees this planet. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
What is the biggest? Who's beefing the biggest right now, as far as controlling the palette? What's popping right now?
Right now, the whole Galactic Council is in a state of amazement
Mm-hmm.
that one of us figured out this scrambled egg.
Mm.
Right? They're like in awe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's people from various places waiting to come in at the close. So we gonna see some phenomenal shit in the sky, and I don't even like talking about that shit because we got
Mm-hmm.
problems. We ain't even focused on the shit on Earth.
Actual fact. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's definitely understandable. You know what I'm saying? Yo, and if, of course I see the people in the chat, etc. You know what I'm saying? If y'all want to go ahead and ask some questions, because you know what I'm saying, we got the good brother here. You know what I'm saying? So please ask your questions. I see some shout outs. The brother Rod Hayes, some of your people out here showing you love in which they supposed to. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Mhm.
so people watching this, brother Rod, and they're saying, what can I do at this point? You know what I'm saying? What we hear all this, we starting to wake up. Can we? What's your what would be your? How can you assist to some of these individuals that might have questions like that? Because I hear this all the time.
Well, we still got to tribe up. We have to
Mm-hmm.
start communicating with family members that we wouldn't normally communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
We have to start organizing tribes. But your tribe don't necessarily have to be related to you by blood.
Mm-hmm. True.
So you probably tribe up with motherfuckers from 50 different countries,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's those people all on the same shit you on,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's
But
true.
then somebody else, they might only deal with a certain group of people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like when you were with Black Magic, and all y'all brothers were together, vibing all together. I'm gonna tell you this, man. I was so happy to see that, man. I'm damn near cried, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, most of the time you see this, especially in the '90s, all that stuff. People arguing about, oh, the Sumerians are better than the Egyptians. I'm right because you know what I'm saying. It was none of that. And you know what I'm saying. You really had a real good point because everybody's coming together in harmony. And I think that my personal opinion, is just that what you said is so key, just because we can just accomplish so much more with
Yeah,
like-minded
well,
individuals.
you look, we gotta respect everybody right to disagree with us.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody not supposed to like us,
Yeah.
right? Just like everybody not gonna hate us.
Yeah. Exactly.
Everybody ain't supposed to understand where we at,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we all got a different piece to the puzzle.
Exactly.
Because we all lived a different life,
Mm-hmm.
right? We all live the same life. This should be boring,
Boring. Yeah.
right?
Very
So we
true.
watch the ups and downs, the rises and falls of other people.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to give us the tools to understand about our life.
Mm-hmm.
So they say, if God's so perfect, why did God create handicapped people?
Exactly.
God created handicapped people so you healthy motherfuckers can see the motherfucking handicapped people outdo your healthy ass while you complaining about your life,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
right? So we know that this person is autistic or have Down syndrome or whatever the case, but they get up off their ass with their handicap and show you that the handy can,
Mm-hmm. That's it.
right? But
That's
then
it.
we sitting over here, able body, supposed to be a whole man, and we bitching because somebody don't like the organization we belong to.
Exactly.
I got a right not to like what I don't want to like.
That's it.
You can't make me like your shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most retarded shit. And that's where we getting jacked up at
Mm-hmm.
because we letting other people make us follow what they want us to follow instead of coming to our own conclusion
Mm-hmm.
based on personal understanding.
Mm-hmm.
We don't trust ourselves because if we did, you can't lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
You tell your higher self to get the answer, and then a week later, that shit just occur to you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You be like, oh yeah, that's the answer to that question I asked. Where'd that come from? How did I know that shit?
Mm-hmm.
Right? But we gotta activate higher consciousness and higher self-respect, love of self, knowledge of self, in order to be able to use that of any effect. You know, all these people talking about manifestation this and manifest that,
Mm-hmm.
manifestation this.
Mm-hmm.
It don't work like that,
Yeah.
right? Manifestation on you, it's the same as going to the gym to get buffed to enter into Mr. Olympics.
Yeah.
If you don't practice manifesting shit, your manifester ain't gonna manifest
It can
nothing,
manifest nothing. Yep.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
while you sitting there tearing down the other people that's manifesting around you, you could be learning how to make your own manifester manifest the shit you won't manifest.
Manifest it. Yep. That's
Just
actual
put it
fact.
in your personal manifesto. It's for you to
Mhm.
read.
One of the and I'm going to say this, and as a question, somebody put in the chat, and you can deal with that. But one of the things I always think is very interesting because you look at life, from quote unquote a subatomic level. Meaning, when I say that, I mean you you're not looking at it and just dealing with this mundane third day reality. Even if we have to deal with it, your mindset is coming from almost a overstanding or an outer standing. You know what I'm saying? Of what we have to deal with this third dimension. You know what I'm saying? Could you kind of build on that, the importance of that?
Well, the position you start with is why in the fuck are we here?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay, so we here, we live in our life. What's the point?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What's the point?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now the only way to know what the point of being here is, you have to study how different people live life.
Mm-hmm.
By studying how different people live life, you might take some of the rules they use, some of the tools they use, and use them to your advantage
Mm-hmm.
to help you in your own life,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So they say leaders are readers, right? But if you want to hide something from a nigga, put it in the book,
In the book. Mm-hmm.
right? Closed mouth never get fed,
Mm-hmm.
and the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Mm-hmm.
In the lingo on the land, that say that the wise one sees the problem, finds a solution, and makes a consistent noise before the people,
Mm-hmm.
so that the squeaky wheel can be properly oiled in order to resolve the problem
Problem.
that confront the collective tribes. This is not
Mm-hmm.
a one tribe issue.
Yeah.
This is an all tribes
All
issue.
tribe. Mm-hmm.
So all tribes from the land, on the land, have to click up with their family members, their tribe members, they extended tribes, and they have to raise a matriarch to give the orders. So what it looked like is when each group, no matter if it's 10 or 1,000, each group got a matriarch and they ready, they alert the resource center for the grand matriarch on the land, which is Mother Khadijah.
Mm-hmm.
So the resource center would be the local MGT. The local MGT are not to be approached by the men. That's not y'all job. The mothers are supposed to be telling them, we tribing up, we got our big mama. This her name, this where we at, this where we from, this is our head count. And the local MGT gonna say, okay, we need y'all to do this in order to have the proper structure for your tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Then they gonna give them the structure. When they get the structure, they gonna go home and organize. You
Mm-hmm.
finance committee, you on the public relations committee,
Mm-hmm.
right? You on the planning committee,
Mm-hmm.
you in the cooking committee, right? So we putting
Mm-hmm.
people in the position that they love to do the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Important.
Yeah.
Nobody's supposed to do anything where they are going to feel taxed and labored.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to do the labor of love
Love.
for the ones you love in order
Mm-hmm.
to keep the love in the air.
Mm-hmm.
It's not personal, it's just how the families roll.
Mm-hmm.
When the mothers get enough mothers across the land, they're going to let Mother Khadijah know what's going on. They're going to give her back a report. And then she's going to give her order, and the government
And so coming through the Lion's Gate, we talking about 8-8. So we talking about the seated queen. 8-8 is seated queen. 80 is an open queen seat. 880 is an open empress seat. 888 is the empress seated. So when we looking at the events that's taking place and the timing of events that's occurring converging, we are at the close of the Aquarian of the Piscean age, the opening of the Aquarian age. We in the Jubilee year 2022, which cancels all contracts. Then also, this is the third year in what we call the redemption process of the organic people from the land to reclaim their birthrights and restore the land. Now, we've seen the Pope make a Canadian visit, and he had to be publicly put on notice to his face that his rule is over with because we operate from a higher standard of law, and no longer can the daughters of the land be compelled to operate under the foreign jurisdiction because the superior law has been activated, and she put him on notice that the matriarchs across the land has stationed the chiefs. They already put the chiefs on notice to cleanse the land. And what that means is that it is our job to reestablish government, which takes us to Noble Drew Ali immediately. Because one of the things that he say in the oral statements and prophecies, for those who don't understand Noble Drew Ali won't understand what he's talking about. But he said that he would leave these people in power long enough for us, the organic people of the land, to learn how to run government. So when he declared that we was Moorish nationals, there was an agenda attached to it, a legal maneuver to navigate a contract. Now, Ty's been telling us for years how to navigate this contract so we not victimized by it. And he's been reiterating the same thing. These people is a de facto corporate entity acting in a legal capacity as if they are the de jure or the rightful owners and lawmakers of the land. They are not. So who are these people? Where the hell did they come from? Right? And who do they represent? So when I trace back, another thing Noble Drew Ali said is, I need for you to get a good Moorish education. Moorish education is not restricted to Moorish science doctrine, nor the dogmas attached. The doctrine of Moorish science traces all the way back to Rome. And we understood that, and we've seen different things transpire over the course of time, but most of us don't watch what we call the long game, right? So we in a 6,000 year lunar cycle of the 4 cycles in the age, right? So it's a 24,000 year galactic clock. And it is the 2 lunar cycles, moon cycles, and there's 2 sun cycles, and they each separate one from the other. They alternate like fan blades. Now, the reference in understanding the time is Charles Mosley Bay's Clock of Destiny. Because if you don't understand the Clock of Destiny, then it doesn't make sense the alignments of the stellar arrangements, nor their effect on Earth. So then that takes us to the metaphysics of Moorish science, which takes us to C. Freeman Eel, who thoroughly broke down the Masonic secrets behind Moorish science and the Moorish science that was withheld in the Masonic secrets, right? So along comes Hakeem Bey to explain to us the tribal connection between the ones we call the righteous Moors, which will by default expose the ones that we call the dirty Moors. We call them dirty Moors because they pretend to be with us, but their allegiance is to some other entity not from Earth. In that allegiance, they have sworn war against us until the close of the age, what they call the end of time. The end of time is the close of the age. This is now. We going into the Aquarian age of knowing. That means that the secrets now have to be exposed to the public in a fashion that the public can assimilate who it is doing the dirt, where they at, and how to get rid of the motherfuckers. So they came in as Spanish conquistadors with Christopher Columbus, but they preceded him and they sent scout ships over here 100 years prior to Columbus. References they came before Columbus, edited by Ivan Van Sertima. So once they got over here, the elders who left the tradition in the South, South America specifically, said, we didn't see any ships. Now that's blatantly sticks out to me as an open secret because we were a seafaring people who sent Algonquins to fight in the Iberian Peninsula against these same motherfuckers and aided them in ridding the land of these same rogue elements that was using adrenochrome, bloodletting rituals from Babylonian blood magic. They was using Babylonian money magic, and they were using Babylonian sex magic as the tools of conquest in order to subjugate a people. They turned the boys into effeminates, metrosexuals, in order to make them not resistant to the rule of a foreign entity, and they not as apt to protect the women if they are not divine masculine, right? So now in comes the Masonic Lodge under Prince Hall, the Blue Lodge on the father line. We understand what Prince Hall and Absalom Jones was doing when they were digging up the Masonic secrets as a apprentice under a under a York Rite Masonic Lodge, who wouldn't give him a charter. So he went to England and got a charter from the Scottish Rite in order to institute his knowledge of the York Rite over here. So he had to go to the other lodge, what they call the Great Grand Lodge in England, and get the charter, right? Well, that was not a charter from us. It wasn't until Malachi York went to Cairo, Egypt, to the original adepts to recover the Masonic charter from Cairo directly, which bypassed all European organizations that was infiltrated. In the process of doing this, he uncovered a sacred record that he called the Sacred Record of the United Nubian Nation of Moors. And in there, he goes into lectures in the ancient mystic order of Melchizedek, in the ancient Egyptian order, and in the Sufi order of the Green Light, as to explaining that these people came over here to usurp us, to undermine us and to replace us. They gave us the Bible because the Bible is their contract, but it's a spiritual contract and a conjure book and a grimoire, and it's also a riddle. So you have to decode the Bible in order to unlock the code of the Christ secret. So we talking 33 BC, 33 AD is the time frame. It's a 66-year time frame to find 122 degrees on Mount Calvary in order to get to the exact date in September in which the so-called crucifixion supposed to took place, as opposed to what we call Easter, which is the ceremonial worship of the mother as Ashtar or Ishtar, the great mother, who is the guardian of children, right? So then the rabbit being the patriarchal symbol of a virile male, right? So the rabbit was a man the whole time. And the rabbit had the gun, but he ain't know what to do with it, right? So he got sacked by the wolf. So the wolf caught the rabbit, took the gun, and then the hawk had to come recover the rabbit from the wolf. These are metaphors in the Masonic Lodge. The wolf is called She-Ra. She was the one who nursed Romulus and Remus, and these are the founding fathers of Rome. Whereas Remus, the one became Rome, was the warrior, and Romulus, who became the conscience or the intelligence, became the scholar, which tells us in this land that they came over and they used scholastics, right, and warfare in order to subjugate us, which takes us to the Gullah Wars that they call Seminole Wars. Now, you know who's dictating what took place in the wars by what they call the war. So when we call them Gullah Wars, we know that all of the tribes from as far away as the Polynesian Islands, south, west, as far north as Alaska and the Eskimos, the Inuits, all sent soldiers, warriors to fight in Florida in what we call the Gullah Wars. This is how the French, right, under Adam Weishaupt, using the Louisiana Purchase, and they were able to then do a survey on the land, what they call Lewis and Clark's expedition. As they surveyed the land, they found all our castles empty and said, there's no royalty here. This land is abandoned. But they don't know our culture like we do, because if my soldiers is going to war, I'm standing in the army with them. I'm not sending the motherfucker to fight in anything that I'm not willing to fight in myself. Right? So once these wars begin to take place, Lewis and Clark declared the land empty because they went as far west as Washington State. Right? And the translator we know as a blackamoor by the name of Ben Bay. Ben Bay is Benjamin Banneker.
Right.
Benjamin Banneker is credited with the design of Washington, D.C., which is massive sigils that's used for conjure purpose, and we call that the city of D.C. Right?
Right.
So once they established that, they moved our capital, because our capital was originally Philadelphia. Right? Philadelphia is a city of brotherly love, but it's also the Delphi oracles was central there. So they telling us that the oracles of Delphi was from Greece. That's because Greece was a Hellenistic culture under Helen as a woman. But Rome was a Hellenistic culture, but they turned Helen into a man. This is what they call beheading the god, or when they take Medusa's head. Right? So taking Medusa's head is them switching the gods out. That's an Anunnaki war tactic. So they use changing of the names. So when Enki named his son Seth, then Enlil named his son Sethian. Right? Just so he can say that they're different people, and he can try to switch places with them in retrospect. Right? So from there, we get into the 1900s, and we get into us trying to restore our people, and we got all of these other people that's fighting for power to never let us know who we is, and that's what they call the Masonic secret. So I'm gonna stop right there for questions.
Well, first of all, I know I started the live a little bit off center, but I appreciate everybody still keeping up with us, because I'm learning how to use StreamYard. However, I missed the introduction on the live, so I'm Sunny L, Sunny Moon L. Mother Tweety's here, and for the record, we're not coming in as the adepts. And again, this is the adepts chamber, so the people that come and join us and school us and make sure that we're on point are the adepts, just to make that clear. But I do want to just make that public for the record, on the record. And other than that, yes, we're on with you. My thing was, as far as the conquistadors, we know who they were before. Who are the conquistadors now, and what do these organizations like? Is it the Greek letter organizations? Is it the Divine Nine? Like, who are these people? Are they the imposter Moors, the dirty Moors?
Okay,
or what?
Let me answer that. So, where are these people now? They look like us. They masquerade as our leadership in the community, but they always working against us. They've infiltrated every secret society, every alphabet organization. Their stronghold paramilitary organization is known as the JDL, the Jewish Defense League, but everybody think that's a pale-skinned organization. Look at the symbols, right? When you look at the symbols, their symbol is the black fist. That doesn't make sense. Okay, they are working as the paramilitary branch. They the same ones you'll find in all of the celebrities' FBI files issuing death threats and extortion plots in order to take the wealth from our celebrities. So you find them in Tupac file, Biggie file, you find them in Michael Jackson file, you find them in Prince file, you find them in some of the non-melanated celebrities like what's my man name? Robin Williams, who they said committed suicide, but that was a flat out murder. They call them star whackers in Hollywood. This is in the protection from them in Hollywood before the Nation of Islam got out there was a group that we call Scientologists. The Scientologists was diffusing the situation because they couldn't get to the wealth of the actors because of the structure of Scientology. So that's why all of the celebrities start running the L. Ron Hubbard Scientology, right? So when we started to become instrumental in movies and music in the Hollywood, then the Nation of Islam's FOI have to come in because they're the only ones who know how to defend us from this enemy. They were trained. The what?
Haven't they joined Scientology as well?
Well, that's a military strategy. Okay. So you got the people that's protecting the Europeans in Hollywood, Scientologists, bump into these dudes that's protecting us in Hollywood called FOI. They both performing the same function for two different groups against the same enemy. The art of war say the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So it's only natural that they have to end up creating some kind of alliance because they still fighting the dirty Moors. That's why L. Ron Hubbard moved onto a boat so he wouldn't be under their jurisdiction on the land because they flipped the land jurisdiction to the water. They don't have any jurisdiction on the land. They flipped the water jurisdiction on the land. That's called Admiralty law. The Admiralty and Maritime law is codified and controlled by the Uniform Commercial Code. The Uniform Commercial Code is what they call the International Law of Nations. The International Law of Nations governs international corporate jurisdictional law. So when you become a national, you become a straw man in your nation. As a straw man, you are a dead entity, a legal fiction. You don't really exist. So therefore, whatever they do to you is only a fiction and they can't suffer a consequence. It's not true. They doing this to you because you allowing them to do it to you because you don't know what they doing. That's an adhesion contract that they have you under that you don't know you signing. When they say nationality is the order of the day, it expired July the 4th, 2019. Because using the nationality system under Noble Drew Ali's original format, you was able to navigate and live your life without ever being affected by these people being on the land. But when we start fighting to be part of their system, we abandon our system. We abandon Elijah Muhammad. We abandon Noble Drew Ali. We abandoned Marcus Garvey. We abandoned Booker T. Washington. We abandoned W.E.B. Du Bois. How are we going to get out of this condition? Right? So what we ended up doing was all of the chiefs just put their part in the public domain until one of us can figure out how to put all of the pieces of the puzzle together so that we can exile the imposters. In New Jersey, they are known as the Moorish Zionist Jews. And they are called blackamoors by the Moorish title. They look like us, but they not us. If you look up the picture of Noble Drew Ali in Chicago in front of the temple, then you look up the picture of them in front of a temple, they are mimicking, but they're giving signs in the pictures. But nobody knows how to read the signs because everybody is caught in the dogma that they can't get to the science part. This is why C. Freeman Eels information is critical to the understanding of Moorish science, because he teach you how to read the symbols. And you go back to the Q drop and it said, what's going to be they undoing? The symbols. The symbols is going to expose them, right? Which takes us to the flag. Well, the flag that they flying in the Moorish Science Temple today with the 5-point star has been a Moorish Science Temple flag longer than it's been a Moroccan state flag. Make that shit make sense. They copying Moorish science and Noble Drew Ali in order to perpetuate their dogmatic pursuits and oppression. We not buying it. We done with it, and it don't work no more. So the women's consulate of Moors have been keeping the secret among themselves as to how Noble Drew Ali got infiltrated. Because don't nobody want to tell the story about the muftis. The muftis that gave him up to Rome, as they call it. Of course they did. They was fucking Romans. They was Etruscan Moors. Before they was called Moors, when they went into Europe after they got kicked out of Africa, they was called Etruscans. When they invaded from in the Iberian Peninsula of Europe, when they came in from the southeast, they came in as the Byzantine kings of the Ottoman Empire. This is where we get the term Els, Bays, and Days in the Moorish Science Temple, because you tagging the motherfuckers doing the dirt. Right? So now we get to George Washington and the 200-year challenge in order to develop a ceasefire. The ceasefire was a settlement that was written up as the Paris Accord. We know it today as the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. It wasn't even signed on this land, so therefore any enforcement on this land is in a direct contradiction to the law of the land, which goes back to the native woman who put the Pope on notice, and she had to tell him that the chiefs are now active on the land and that these motherfuckers is running out of time, they got to go, right? And all of the time they've been telling us that white supremacy was about your skin color. It was about being a free white person in law. When you look it up in Black Law Dictionary under free white person in law, clear as day it say Moors. Clear as day. So the whole thing was a chess game between adepts. The ones who were here were on defense, so they take up the banner or the moniker of black.
Question. So what do you think of us? Because we call ourselves American Indians.
Indian is not our term. It's the same as the Moor. They thrusting names on us, like I explained to the sister about Seminole. When we say they talking about Seminole Wars, they telling it from the Europeans' perspective, from the conquistadors, the French and the English that we fought. But when you say Gullah Wars, you telling it from our people's history, perspective, and angle, and we don't tell the same story exactly the same. Their story is that we was runaway slaves and we congregated with the natives and made the strong fighting force in Florida. Our position in the Gullah Wars is we ain't slaves, we ain't finna be your slave, and we'll fight your motherfucking ass until the end of the earth. So this is the difference in how the stories is being told between our elders and the people that came. The people that came want to hold on to the narrative and make us assume the position as a national free white person in law, because that's the big I concept of the Etruscan doctrine.
Okay.
We don't believe in that.
So, well, we go by nations. So, does it still say we're not who we are when we say that we Blackfoot, Wissaponing, Calabar, Choctaw?
When you use those tribal designations like that, Choctaw, the Dungamonja, Washita, Cherokee. Cherokee is also a term that they thrust upon us.
Kitawa.
Right? It's not the original name. The name Cherokee was specifically created to produce some people that we call reservation invaders, $5 Indians. This is who they was making their contracts with under the pretense that they was making the contracts with us. But when you go to all our elders, they say we never signed treaties with them people. Our people never signed treaties with them. So who in the fuck is this signing the treaties? It's the servants they brought because they fought wars against the Mongols and the Huns. Look at the people when it testify of itself. They fought wars with the Mongols, the Huns, and what we call as the Aryans or Arya-Vedic peoples, what we call Hindus. These people became the servants of the Moors in Europe. As prisoners of war, they became part of the bounty that they won. And these were their servants, or as they call them, they pets. And Mama said that nobody should be thrown away like trash. You can't make other human beings your pets. I agree. So when they was telling us the slave stories, what they was leaving out parts is that the big house is Big Mama house. Big Mama always had a big house because she always had a lot of her grandkids, great grandkids, nieces and nephews all living at the house. When they turned our family dwellings into POW,